Guys, welcome to My Guy Reviews review of Avengers Endgame, the 22nd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that started about 11 years ago. This is a combination of kind of every kind of little nugget of film that's come together, that's finally got to this end point, which actually feels like an ending. I'm going to try my best initially just to talk about the film, and then, spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, go away, watch the film, come back to listen to this. But I'm pretty much going to spoil the film from a couple minutes into the review, because everything is a spoiler in the film. Anything you talk about, one thing I'd say is stay away from the internet if you can't help it, because there's so many bad headlines that actually give away big spoilers in their headlines, and I'll talk about them a bit later on. But if you haven't seen the film and you're just like, you're on Flipbook or something and you just see articles, Twitter, and it'll actually give away the person, or he or she did this and what does that mean, and straight away that's a spoiler just in the title. So let's talk about this one. So as everyone knows, obviously this is the sequel to Avengers Infinity War, when Thanos at the end of the film snapped his finger and half of the entire universe obliterated into dust. And this is Avengers Endgame. Pretty much just starts off from where the last one ended, and it's literally just it is what it is. It's literally a continuation of that story, and everyone trying to rebuild after the aftermath of what Thanos has just done. So obviously you can't go into this film, I think, without have watched Infinity War. But what I love about this film as well is a lot of films, and a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, these films are made for the fans and this is fan service, and sometimes you could say that, but you don't really mean it and you don't enjoy it, and you just kind of, it's a cop out in some cases. You just be like, oh yeah, no, this is this way because that's what the fans deserve and this is what the fans want. And actually this movie is fan service, but it's done correctly. Like every film that's led to certain points, key elements, they are referred to. Certain people who we haven't seen in a while appear in this film, and I'll get to that in the spoilers. But it's great for anyone who's stuck around, watched every single film in the cinematic universe, or is well aware of most of the films in the cinematic universe. They give you those nuggets. They give you some nice bits about what happened with X character and what happened to he or she, and or they come back and you wouldn't even realize it. So I think the marketing and the trailers, they've done exceptionally well hiding what I think the story was. But there's a few bits of their trailer that even spoiled things for me, and I didn't watch any more after that. A lot of people start trying to work out theories. Look, there's a clip here, there's someone missing in the background, and we worked out who it is. I said, don't listen to anything, don't watch anything, just go straight into the film so you can sit back and enjoy it. So the film pretty much starts off after the aftermath of Infinity War, and then all our heroes are gathered together and they're trying to work out what to do next. And then it's that story, and it's more of a character story than the previous one, which was Thanos' character arc. And it's more about what would you do once something like this happened to the world, to the universe, to everything, and everyone's coming together and they're trying to just cope after those kind of after those events. So now I'm going to just spoilers, because everything is just literally a spoiler of the film, and I don't want to kind of say anything without kind of destroying. So first, before I end kind of like the spoiler free bit, 100%, if you stuck with this universe, you have to watch this film. If you're a fan of X number of these films, you have to watch this film. If you loved Infinity War, you have to watch this film. If you're coming new, you've never seen a single Marvel film, it's a lot to take in, because there's going to be a lot of continuation and continuities in this that you'll be like, you might make, you might get through it and you might be like, who was that? Why was this character there? Why is this person so important? Stuff like that. But go ahead, just watch the film. It's a bit of a slog at 3 hours and 1 minute, but for me, it was quite snappy. The pace was good. I quite enjoyed it. I have to watch it a second time, maybe third time, to really kind of pick up on all the bits and to see if it is a slugfest. But for me, it was a punchy, quick 3 hour film. And yeah, so now well worth watching the big screen, IMAX if you can. The last hour is just exceptional. The first 2 hours are incredible as well, or well worth it. Okay, so let's get straight into this. So, spoiler review. So for the actual film itself, in the trailer, let's break down the trailer a little bit. There's a bit where which I didn't like. The trailers have been so good; they've been very secretive thus far. But in the trailer, there's a bit where you see them all dressed in this kind of white and grey kind of Avengers new kind of attire. But in the background, obviously you see Cap, you see Widow, and you see a couple of the other guys. But they show you Iron Man, and the first trailer was great because you have Iron Man on the ship, and you got Nebula. And he's saying, "Oh, we're running out of oxygen and this," and they've set the peril. But what they do in the second trailer is actually, "Oh, he's saved. He's fine. He's here," and that kind of spoiled the film for me a little bit because the stakes aren't there anymore for that character. Because he'll be fine. He's going to be there in a second anyway. And another thing that that they did really well, I think, was. So let's continue. So the film starts off, and Iron Man and Nebula are just playing a bit of fake American football, where you flick the thing over the hands, which is quite cool. It's still funny and stuff, but I love they're floating out there. They don't know what's going to happen, and guess who comes up? MVP of the moment for them, OP, Captain Marvel, Carol. She comes along and saves them, and off she comes to planet Earth and meets up with the rest of the Avengers, and then off they go to see Thanos. What happened next, I really didn't expect straight away to be this quick and this happened. And literally they go over to see Thanos. She's beating on Thanos, and he said he's destroyed the stones, and in walks in Thor, who's got all this regret because he didn't go for the head. He just literally takes him out, absolutely just takes him out. And Thanos is dead. And that's the first 10 minutes of the film, 15 minutes maybe. Thanos is gone, and all the Infinity Stones are gone as well. And then the film really kind of kicks in. And of course, you see some of Captain Marvel's powers, but you see that happen. And then what they do is they spent the next 5 years kind of floating around and kind of deciding what to do, and trying to rebuild society, the universe and everything. And there's bits, we kind of jump 5 years, and everyone's kind of dealing with the aftermaths of it for 5 years on, and trying to rebuild societies, worlds and stuff. And that's really, really cool, which you don't really see in these comic book movies, where they really kind of show you the stakes of what's actually happening. Once they've done this thing, what happens next? And you see Rocket Raccoon, you see Captain Marvel with her new haircut, which is quite cool. You see Rhodey talking about Clint, which I'll talk to about in a bit. And they're just kind of all kind of doing their thing. They're trying to rebuild. She goes to find Clint, Black Widow. He has a nice little cool real action sequence. He's become a Ronin. The start of the film is where he is teaching his daughter how to use a bow and arrow, and then he turns around to talk to his wife, and that's the aftermath of Thanos' snap happening in the background, and he loses his family as well. So all of them having turned to dust. And then so then they come up with this idea, because Scott Lang turns up, and he comes up with the time heist. Now it is still Scott Lang. He's funny. I love him. He's really good in the film. And they come up with the idea of the Scott Lang time heist. Now time heist films always time travel is always a bit funny in films, but they kept it quite simple in a way. But there are elements where I think it kind of breaks or it doesn't break, and it's a bit confusing, but I'll talk about it a bit later on. But then we do the time heist, and what they come up with this idea is go back in time, collect the stones, undo the snap, and then return the stones back to the time before they were stolen, and so those timelines would not be affected. So they find out when and where, and they're all time heist back in time. And this is quite cool. This is great for all the Marvel fans, because we go back to Thor: The Dark World. We see Jane Foster. We see Thor's mom. We see Loki. Great. And Rocket Raccoon's there. And you actually, when we jump 5 years, Thor puts on a ton of weight. He looks amazing. He's super funny. And it's great because Taika Waititi's in there. Valkyrie's in there. There's lovely cameos. So people who've stuck with the films will see all of that. It's hilarious. And he's trying to deal with the aftermaths of what's happened. It's been 5 years. He's slowly rebuilding Asgard, which I thought was really good. But yeah, he's really given up. But yeah, so he goes back to the Dark World, which was really cool. Some of the other Avengers go back to the events of New York, which when Avengers assemble. There's a hilarious bit with Hulk smashing. I forgot to talk about Hulk as well. So Banner's now been able to control Hulk, and he's become Professor Hulk, which was good. And so they see Hulk smash in, and then they've got to get Loki's scepter because that's where the stone is. There's another funny bit when they get onto the elevator, but Hulk has to take the stairs. There's so many fun bits in the film. But yeah, so the actual the Tesseract, unfortunately, they do not get hold of initially. Loki takes it, handcuffed, and snap, and he disappears. But so they have to go back even further, and this is another cool because obviously, for anyone who's seen all the films, we're now going back to see Howard Stark, Tony's dad, and they have a lovely moment together, which we'll come back to a bit later maybe, where he really gets that kind of closure between the father and son and really sees how much his dad loved him and appreciated him, and that really comes across there, and it's such a touching moment. Steve Rogers sees Peggy Carter again, Haley Atwell. That was a really nice little kind of mention there when when they're trying to steal the Pym particles from Michael Douglas, obviously, from the original Ant-Man movie, and the Pym particles, because obviously they're all about quantum realm. This is how they're doing their time travel, is via the quantum realm. So all these kind of nice little nuggets to kind of previous films. And of course, they've gone back to see Peter Quill to take the other stone. And then the Soul Stone, is the one that kind of is most controversial, or kind of like the one on how do they get there. So Clint and Natasha turn up to see Red Skull, who explains the only way to get the stone is to perform a sacrifice. So Clint offers to jump off the cliff and offer the sacrifice of himself, because obviously you have to sacrifice something you truly love. Obviously, Clint and Natasha, who are just basically family, and it's touching in that way. And obviously, they got so much love for each other. So he offers to kind of jump off the cliff, and then Natasha and him get into a little fight, and they have a fight over it, and then eventually we see Natasha fall off and Clint be saved, and she says, say hi to the family, and kind of that's how he gets the Soul Stone. So they come back, and it's a really sad kind of moment where we know Natasha's now gone, and even says, Clint does, this is it, this is kind of this is our only chance, and this is it. So they collect all the stones, and then we get into what is most probably the last hour. If you get to the point where they get to the stones, they put it on the glove. Don't go for a wee after that point. If you need to go for a wee break, go before there. So they've got all the stones now. Gamora also went back in time to get one of the stones, and she's been controlled by other Gamora, and Thanos finds out their plans. So he's now going to jump forward from 2014 to present day. So, because he now realizes that he did get the stones because Nebula, future Nebula, has kind of accidentally told past Nebula, and that's going to happen. But yeah, so they get back to Avengers headquarters, and then Tony Stark helps by putting all the stones onto an Iron Man glove, and they talk about who should do the snap, and they talk about the gamma radiation, and it can easily kill any one of them. So Hulk steps up, puts the glove on, and he does the snap, and he undoes the snap. Now at that point, as he's undone the snap, Scott Lang, I think he's looking outside the window trying to see what happens, and it seems like maybe it's worked. We don't know, because Thanos has actually come into the present day with his army, and they created a wormhole, and now he is destroying the Avengers Tower and all the Avengers in the tower. And then Thanos stands outside, and he sends Nebula and Gamora to get the stone.